one of the things being in this position as being a teacher or having the privilege to teach the Dharma, really you're trying to connect with people. You're trying to connect with people. And I think being a participant in classes is also trying to connect with Sangha, trying to connect with people, trying to connect with the teaching, and trying to connect with oneself. And so I do consider this a great privilege, and I'm honored that you come class after class, and I sincerely hope that you are able to get some benefit from these classes. Tricky thing with Zoom, I try to speak to the room. That's, I try to speak to the room. I have ideas perhaps about what I want to talk about one evening or the other. Some classes are more prepared than others, but you're really trying to connect with the room. You're trying to connect with who's sitting in front of you, and also trying to connect with the Dharma, trying to connect with that aspect of ourselves that is oneself, that is spirit, that is pure spirit, that is outside of the normal everyday construct of ego, of self. And to the best of my ability, I am connecting with that and trying to speak from that place. And as a listener, in some ways, we're doing the same thing. When we're listening to the Dharma, we are listening from a place that is not so caught up in ego, not so caught up in self, but is really trying to be in a place that's open and receiving and receptive. That's why sometimes I've talked about the teacher that I met in Tiruvanamalai, the Swami there who didn't say anything. He just sat in silence. And in some ways, we're trying to reach that place of an open receptivity that is not clouded, that is not crowded, that is open. And when we listen to the Dharma, when we listen to teachings, when we listen to ourselves, we're listening for a sound. We're listening for a space that opens up when we're not within or caught up in constriction. And so it's not like you're trying to find a point. It's not necessarily you're trying to find an idea. It's not like you're trying to find a thing. But we're opening up, we're connecting with that which is outside of the realm of construct. That's what we're moving towards. Somebody, old friend of mine at the Dharma Center today was talking about, we, of course, were talking about old times, as old people do. And he was saying how he always found it funny that people would say, oh, Namjo Rinpoche is giving a talk tonight, or he's giving a course. And then the question would be, well, what's he going to talk about? And then if you tell me what he's going to talk about, I may decide to come to the class or not. Right? And it was Stephen Gelman, for those of you who know him. And it was like, well, he always kind of talked about the same thing. Or he was always coming from the same place. You know, he may have been approaching it from the direction of psychology or science or Buddha Dharma or nature, but it ultimately always was coming from the same place and pointing to the same place. So I think that's what we're trying to do here. I think that's what we're trying to do here. And that's what we're trying to do with our Dharma practice. And in all these months of teaching, in all of these months of teaching, I'm trying to the best of my limited ability, I'm trying to, and this is going to make me sound grandiose, and I don't mean to sound grandiose, but I'm trying to reach my hand in a very clumsy way into the infinite, into the unknown. And with my other hand, I'm presenting it to the best of my ability. And in your practice, to the best of your ability, you are listening and you are receiving teachings. And in the formal practice of meditation, you are developing concentration, you're developing the skill of concentration and the skill of mindfulness, only to bring you to that point where you can hear, where you can feel within your own heart the echoes of that sound of the infinite, of that which lies beyond us. That's what we're doing. I don't really have anything that profound to say. It's your heart that does. It's your experience that does. And I am trying to help you to be able to listen to that. All of the things I say, all of the different practices that we've done, that's what we're doing. So we're learning to listen. We're learning to listen. We're learning to receive. So when you're listening to the teachings, when you're listening to yourself, you're learning to receive your experience. You're learning to embrace your experience, to be with your experience in a way that's outside of ego, that's outside of self-referencing, that's outside of self-referencing. The first thing we do when we start to, often the first thing we do when we talk about ourselves and our spiritual practice and our path is what comes up is what's wrong with us. I've been talking about this for the last couple of classes. We tend to take our conditioning and the stories we've been told and we place them on our practice. And we describe ourselves to ourselves. We describe our practice to ourselves through this layer of conditioning. And often it's about what's wrong, about how we fall short. But we're listening with the wrong set of ears. We're listening with the wrong set of ears. What if nothing was wrong? What if there was nothing wrong with you? What if you are just a perfect expression of what you are, of what you're supposed to be? What if you were just a perfect expression? And not that you're perfect, but a perfect expression, a natural expression. And we just accepted it. What if we just sat with that for a moment? And immediately the story comes up, right? In your mind, probably right now, about why you just can't be exactly what you are, what your shortcomings are. But what if we just all accepted that and just let it go by the wayside and go deeper into the experience? Listen from a deeper place within ourselves. And how do we listen from a deeper place within ourselves? How do we receive in a more full way? We simply get out of the way. Simply get out of the way. In the Vajrayana approach, which is mostly taught from the Tibetan schools, they talk about receiving blessings, receiving the blessings. They talk about devotion and receiving blessings. So this place that I'm talking about this place of listening in a very, very deep way, outside of self-referencing. This place is filled with blessing. This place is filled with blessings. Maybe you know it. Maybe you don't. But if you know that place, if you've experienced that place within yourself, if you've experienced that place of deep quietude and openness, that's the place of blessings. That's the place of devotion. Because that's the place of the heart. So we receive all these teachings, we do all these practices, but it's only to let go of the obscurations of self-referencing, to let go of the obscurations, to let go of that which is obscuring our view. I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. We learn to find that place in the heart. We learn to find that place in the heart. And then it's not a matter about what we think we are or who we think we are. It's a place of openness. It's a place of quietude. And it's a place of blessings. And the practice is really to develop the certainty of that. Is to develop the certainty of that. And learning not to listen to the other. Learning not to pay so much attention to the views we have about ourselves that limit us. Learning to see those views that limit us when they appear, and choosing not to carry them around. Learning to be able to hear that voice of openness and quietude and blessings. Learning to hear that voice. And making choices that allow us to hear that. So all of that activity, that ceaseless activity of mind, so much of it is just chatter. It's just chatter. And it traps us, it limits us. It limits us. So hopefully we come to classes, hopefully we come to retreats, hopefully we read books, and hopefully we practice meditation. A meditation that brings us into direct experience of what we're talking about tonight. direct experience of what we're talking about tonight. And the idea of the daily practice, right, is to, for whatever our capacity is for that experience, these experiences that I'm talking about, whatever our capacity is on some level, we touch that every day. We reach that every day. We reach that every day, and we develop it. Can we learn to see the heart? Can we learn to see openness? Can we learn to see the stillness in whatever experience we find ourselves in? Even if you're upset, it's still there. It's still there. But we listen to the voice of the upsetness. We allow that to define our present moment. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to have desire. It's okay to be caught up. But we don't allow those momentary experiences to define what we are. We see it, but we know because we've been training ourselves, we've been practicing to listen to that quietness, that expansiveness, that openness that lies beyond that lies behind that. I'm not speaking words here. You hear words, but I'm not speaking words. I'm speaking experience. I'm using these, I'm moving my mouth in this way to point to something that's already in you. These are just words. But the experience is this. The experience is this. So in that experience of the quietness, of the openness, the non-obscuration, the not self-referencing, just being with this experience. It allows a deeper truth. It allows a deeper blessing to come in the room. It allows a deeper blessing to come in. You don't have to figure that part out. You don't have to figure that part out. We just have to tidy up the room. Right? We just have to tidy up the room. Pull back the blinds. Dust the shelves. I won't use the word vacuum because that just has too many negative connotations. Whoever invented a vacuum cleaner anyway? Who likes vacuuming? And a great way is not difficult for those who know how to vacuum. That was, I think that was the sixth Zen patriarch. But we dust, we clean. We pull back the blinds, we open up, and we listen. One of the reasons I'm talking about this tonight, because we're not going to have classes for a little while. And I really want you to know that this is here. You don't need me. You don't need the classes. This, to which I am pointing to, is never going to leave. But it is nice to get together and share, right? It is nice to get together and share. It is nice to get together and reaffirm. It is nice to get together with other like-minded individuals who are pursuing the same truths. So we keep opening up, and we catch ourselves in stories about what's wrong with ourselves, why we don't have it together, why we don't have it together today. We catch those stories and we just let them come and we let them go. And then we listen to what's underneath the story. We sit and connect with that space that was there before the story began, that was there when the story was there, and that is still there when the story goes away. That place hasn't moved. That place never. And if you just don't quite get what I'm saying, if you just don't quite believe it, if you're just not a good enough practitioner to get it, just relax. Let that thought go and listen. And it's always like that. It's always like that until it's not. It's always like that until it's not. And in a moment it is, in a moment we see it, and in another moment we don't see it. And in a moment we see it, and in another moment we don't see it. But allow yourself the grace to know that you've seen it. Allow yourself the grace, allow yourself the love to know that you've touched it. Allow yourself the confidence to know that you've intuited, that you can intuit it. I once had a teacher tell me that I would become enlightened. And he was saying it, I think, in the context of just a trajectory of all souls, that eventually we all become enlightened. But one day he said, and you'll become enlightened. And my first thought is, he has no idea what he's talking about. He's wrong. Very well-known guru. And it was like, he's wrong. He's wrong. But he was pointing to the inevitability that one will become awakened. That one will. So you will become enlightened. You will become awakened. You will have profound experiences of, if you haven't already, of this openness and this quietness. Every person in this room. Actually, there's 3 people who won't. Can you guess who you are? I'm playing with your head now. If you think you're one of the 3, put your hand up. But that's what we think, right? It's like, no, not me. Not me. I've told that joke I told it a few weeks ago. It's a cartoon. It's like a New Yorker cartoon, but it can't be, I don't know where I saw it. In the Toronto Sun, just joking. And it's a cartoon, and it's 2 captions. And it's a mother talking to her husband and said, why don't you go and wake Johnny up? So the next caption is the husband's in his son's bedroom, and he's leaning over to Johnny, and he says, Johnny, you are the universe experiencing itself. That's what I'm talking. So we get out of the way, right? We get out of the way. And we allow this experience to unfold. So all of these teachings, the Anapanasati, the foundations of mindfulness, the brilliant dissertations I do, they're all pointing, they're all hopefully helping to guide us to get to this place. So stay with the practices, teaching a lot of Anapanasati and 4 foundations of mindfulness. Wherever you are in those practices, whatever your strength is, continue to develop that over the summer. Continue to work on that. But know that those practices of the development of awareness, mindfulness, and concentration are to bring you to this place where the drapes are open and the room is dusted, so you can see clearly. But stay with those practices. Develop those practices. Develop the clarity of mind, the watchfulness of mind, the watchfulness. Develop the concentration, the focusing on the breath. Do you get to a place in your practice where there is, at some point with the breath meditation, not that you are staying with it all the time, but that there's an energy shift in your body where there's a sense of a unification of the energetic body. There's a sense of calmness, there's a sense of presentness, there's a sense of, the term that's often used is unification. There's a The body and the mind are in the same place. And, you know, with the breath meditation, we're doing a lot of opening up to sensations in the body. And there's a point with that where there is a sense of flow. There's a sense of connection and there's a sense of flow. There's a sense of a softness, a soft, energetic experience of the body. And if you are moving towards that, if you connect with that, stay with that. Develop that. Move into that. So that we're watching the breath and then we open up, we're in this unified state. And it's a physical, energetic experience. And we place our minds there. We settle there. And then we just open to the experience. We just open to the experience. What happens is then we become more aware of mind, or we become more aware of awareness, right? We become more aware of that aspect of the watcher. But we sit on that seat of that unification of body and mind. We sit in that energetic experience. Okay, I'm not scattered anymore. I'm present, I'm breathing in. There's a sense of flow. There's a sense of softness. There's a sense of togetherness. There's a sense of presence. And then we rest there. We rest there and we open up to awareness. We just open up to our experience. And we sit there and we listen. We get out of the way. We sit in that place. We sit in that place. And then we lose it. We lose it. And then we come back to it again. We come back to it enough. We come back to it enough that we start to remember it during the day. And even though that unification experience might not be as strong during the day, we remember it. And we listen. We remember in the middle of all the activity to listen to that quietness, to watch, to just be. We remember to find that seat again. Seat. We remember where that seat is. Of just an open presence where we're not getting in our way with all of these stories. We're just simply being. Simply being. Very wakeful. Very, very wakeful. And that's connecting with ourselves in a very deep way. And that's connecting with that which is there before the emotion, before the event, before the thought, during the emotion, during the thought, and after it. Right? It's this. It's this. And if you want me to say it another way, it's the quality of attention. It's a quality of attention that is rooted, that's soft, that's kind, that's not being pulled away. And when we recognize it's being pulled away, you just let the experience go. And there it is again. Because this is not before, during, and after. This is not this. This is not the thought. This is not the emotion. This is not the event. It's the quietness, it's the steadiness, it's the awareness that just is. That's the Buddha. So let's sit with the Buddha. See how he's doing tonight. So with the breath, with the awareness, connecting with that calm, connecting with that sense of unification in the body, opening up the awareness to the entirety of the body, feeling the breath disseminate through the entirety of the body. Connecting with that calm, connecting with that energy flow. And settling, sinking into that, rooting into that. Using the breath to develop that, to increase that. Increasing the calm, increasing the flow, increasing the settledness, increasing that sense of unification. And you get a sense with each in-breath of that, this experience, deepening, developing. Letting that calm disseminate throughout the entirety of your body. Letting the breath disseminate through the entirety of the body. Right down through your bones, into your bone marrow. Right into the depth of your physical being. Breathing in, breathing out, connecting with flow, connecting with vibration, connecting with sensation. letting your awareness connect with the underlying stillness of this experience, the underlying quietness. Putting your attention on that, resting in that place. It's not thought. That's not sensation. There's a point in the meditation where you're letting go of effort and just being, just resting in a state of quiet attentiveness, quiet, still attentiveness. Nothing to do but abide here, rest. May all beings live in peace. May all beings live in harmony. May all beings live in peace and harmony.